If you're a facilities manager at a university, you know students rely on the cafeteria for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and the occasional late-night snack. So when a dishwasher breaks down and dirty plates pile up, the mess hall can turn messy in the blink of an eye. Enter Grainger. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast delivery, the product you need now is never far away. So you can turn that dishwasher back into a lean, clean washing machine. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
We will not be held responsible for any hearing impairments or damage caused to you from excessive exposure to this sound.
It's Friday. What is it? November 30th, 2012. Happy 30th. Happy 30th. Happy Friday night, because it is the Friday Night Fiasco here on Sackheads Radio. Big show tonight. It is? No. Okay. No, I'm just kidding. Well, it kind of is. About what? It's a medium show. Well, first of all, our good friend Andrea-Gate will be calling in. Andrea. Anyone doesn't know Andrea? She's a conservative talk show host.
Seriously, you really don't.
Living in the dark. There are people living in the dark that only come out once a week to listen to our show.
And I'm actually one of them. I come out once a week.
Once a week, that's about it.
I'm completely in the dark.
And she made some comments. I'm not going to get too far into it. It's her story to tell. And she ended up receiving threats against her sponsors, people threatening to boycott her sponsors and try to have her pulled because she spoke the truth. Or her opinion, even if it wasn't hard fact truth. Like if somebody has an opinion, they say it.
We'll get into it.
They have the right to that opinion. So Andrea's coming up about 10:45. We're going to talk about Susan Rice this evening. Okay. And the GOP have a meeting with her. Maybe a little bit about Gaza and the UN and Gaza in the UN. It's like pizza, right? Listen,
so hang on a
I
second.
talk funny and you know I talk funny, so leave me alone.
Hey, drink your Gatorade. So how have you been?
I'm doing well.
You have a good week?
I did have a good week. My cold is actually starting to clear out, which is very nice. Last 2 weeks we've been suffering, you as well. So it's nice that I can actually breathe on a regular basis without having to take 1 million pills and Afrin and all the other stuff.
Like prescription pills?
Yeah, the blue one.
What?
Mucinex.
Yeah. No,
Mucinex is blue, yeah.
So I came across something interesting I wanted to share with you this week.
Just me, or can the listeners?
The listeners can listen in, but I haven't talked to you about it. It's something I kind of wanted to share with everybody. It's nothing political, just kind of a story that I found interesting. You know that I'm a history buff.
Yeah.
I know that's a huge shock, right?
I know. Anyone who's never listened to the show
knows I hate history. And I enjoy particularly American Revolutionary history, but I also enjoy World War II history.
Right. Very much so.
Very much. I had a couple of my relatives fought in World War II. I had a grandfather who was a Pearl Harbor survivor, and his brother who was actually a B-17 flyer out of England, Kim Bolton Airfield. And I came across a story, and I don't know how I haven't heard this story before, and I read it, and it was kind of an interesting story. What caught my eye about it initially is the plane that this was out of Kim Bolton. It was the same airfield that
your great uncle,
my great uncle, flew out of, and again B-17 driver as well. So I read the story and I kind of wanted to share it because it was kind of I thought it was real interesting. It was and it was the time that he was there, December 20th, I believe, 1943. Pilot, commander, B-17 commander, I believe it was his first command flight. His name was Charlie Brown. I don't think there's any relation.
No.
But his name was Charlie Brown, and he was assigned to a B-17F.
Was he a terrible place kicker?
Probably.
He was a terrible place kicker.
But his dog could fly the crap out of anything. It was pretty awesome. And fighting Germans, too. How weird. How weird is that? you know what? Maybe that whole Snoopy saga was based on this incident.
There has to be some sort of relation. Go on.
Maybe, but I digress. So the name of his aircraft was the Old Pub, which I figured you would have.
Fantastic.
They were bombing
finally a language I can understand.
They were bombing an aircraft factory, and while they're en route over the target, the B-17 gets bracketed by flak, and the Pub flies into a big flak cloud. The plexiglass gets blown off the nose, exposing the crew to bitter cold air. It's like 50 degrees Celsius up there. So very cold exposure, and the bombardier actually flies in the nose on the B-17s. So the crew gets exposed. On the way off target, the aircraft is attacked by 8 German fighters and anti-aircraft from the ground as well. One 8mm shell actually punches through the right wing without exploding. Another shell sends shrapnel into the number 2 engine. From the fighters attacking and the anti-aircraft being so thick, the throttle controls to the number 4 engine were also cut. So now the aircraft had 2 engines that were basically inoperative. The number 4 engine ran away. They had to shut it down.
Can I stop you for a second?
Sure.
Every now and again I complain about my day.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, you know what? I had a really bad day. This happened, that happened. Work didn't go great. Maybe we didn't have the best show that we could have had or something like that, which very rarely happens.
I don't remember that day, but okay.
And then you hear a story like this, and you haven't even gotten to the gist of it.
Right.
Just the description makes me realize what a whiny sack I am sometimes.
Hence, Sackheads Radio.
But I digress. Go on.
Now you're going to make a good point like that. But you have to, and I was very fortunate in that I had several opportunities to talk with my great uncle and my family members who were in World War II, and that's a story for another time. But so their aircraft is under attack, and the B-17 takes so much damage. The left rear horizontal stabilizer for the aircraft, the tail section, is blown off.
Right.
Gaping holes were blown into the fuselage. The tail gunner was shot up. Most of the crew was killed or injured.
Goodness. And
Charlie Brown became a straggler, and he's continuously being attacked. His oxygen system goes out. Hydraulics go out. He last remembers rolling over and being able to look up and see the ground. And it's assumed that the German aircraft who were attacking him believed that the B-17 was done because he starts going in towards the ground. Well, when he comes to, he's less than 1,000 feet off.
Hear that? That's the beginning of a journey powered by the confidence that comes from driving a vehicle so reliable, it's backed by a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited powertrain warranty. Where your journey ends? Well, that's up to you. Visit your local Kia dealer today. Kia, movement that inspires.
See retailer for warranty details. Always drive safely. Limited inventory available.
Over the past 75 years, more than 10,000 chemicals have entered our food supply, but the EU allows just 300 additives. At Thrive Market, we prioritize quality, banning over 1,000 ingredients found in conventional grocery stores. Our Healthy Swap scanner helps you find better versions of your pantry essentials, without the junk, dyes, or fillers, and everything is delivered right to your doorstep. So shop at a grocery store that actually cares about your health at thrivemarket.com/getstarted for 30% off your first order and a free $60 gift.
Flying over Germany, and there's a German fighter pilot who is refueling at an airbase, and his name is Franz Stigler, and his Messerschmitt 109 was being refueled and re-armed at the airfield, and all of a sudden they look up and, hey, it's a B-17 flying right there. His commanding officer orders him, hey, we got to go up, intercept that B-17, and down the bomber. Now, Franz Stigler had downed 2 4-engine bombers already that day. So if he would have downed a third, it would have got him the Knight's Cross.
Right.
A major medal in Nazi Germany. So Franz took off. He was a fighter ace. He had 28 kills. He had served in North Africa under a commander by the name of Gustav Rodel. And his commander told him, I'll make that statement here in a moment. So he takes off and he goes to intercept the B-17 from the rear, classic intercept position. And as he approaches the rear, he has his finger on the trigger and he's waiting for the tail gun of the B-17 to come up. The guns never come up. So instead of firing, he flies closer to the tail of the B-17 and you see the tail gunner slumped over the guns, with blood streaming down the barrel of the gun. And he made the comment. I've read several of his interviews, and I've said you can see some of his interviews on YouTube. And he says he's never seen an aircraft that badly damaged or shot up and still be flying. So he flew up to the side of the aircraft, and he sees the crew members working on their shot up comrades inside. Blood streaked over the plane. I mean, a hole big enough to where he can see everything that's going on inside the fuselage of this aircraft.
And when you're going a couple hundred miles an hour, that says a lot.
Yeah. So he flies up next to the cockpit, and he actually looks over and he makes eye contact with the pilot, Charlie Brown. And he tries to motion Charlie Brown to turn around and land in Germany and become a POW. And Charlie Brown refuses. And so when Stigler was flying in North Africa, his commander said, "You're a fighter pilot. If I ever hear of you shooting someone in a parachute, I will shoot you myself." And Stigler said that when he came across the C-17, to him, that was like seeing a bunch of men in a parachute.
Mm-hmm.
They were in no condition to fight. They couldn't fight.
They were no longer combatants. They were just struggling to stay alive.
So they wouldn't turn and land in Germany. So then he tried to direct them and point them towards Sweden, which was only about 30 minutes away. And Charlie Brown didn't want to go to Sweden either. He was going to try and fly over the North Sea and make it back to England, which was about a 2-hour flight, as opposed to a 30-minute flight to Sweden, which was neutral at the time. They could have landed there.
Right, but he's worried about his troops. I'm guessing. I wasn't there. You weren't there. But
I don't know, but Sweden, they're neutral.
They're neutral, but
taken care of, I suppose. But he ends up starting to head out towards the North Sea. Stigler stayed with him as long as he could, and basically provided an escort, flying formation with the C-17. And he said, I knew that if I stayed with them, and I'm paraphrasing here, that if I stayed with them and another German fighter came up, they wouldn't interfere with what I was doing.
Right.
So he basically protected them by flying escort for them.
So he could have just turned around and said, hey, you know what? Whatever happens, happens. Don't want to deal with it.
Yeah,
I'll tell everyone I couldn't find you. I'll tell everyone you went down. Whatever. But good luck. Instead,
he didn't escort, and then Charlie Brown ended up going flying over the North Sea. Stigler turned around, landed back at base, never spoke anything about the incident to anybody.
Stigler did not.
Stigler did not. He tells his commanding officer, yeah, the aircraft was downed over the sea. Not going to find it anyways. Never mentioned a soul.
No.
Anybody.
At the time in Nazi Germany, that would have gotten him probably, if not arrested.
No, would have gotten him.
It would have got him killed. Yeah.
It absolutely was.
That was violation of a direct order. They had a chance to take out a quote-unquote enemy combatant. That was their job as part of the Luftwaffe. That was a big deal for him to choose not to do it.
It was huge. He would have been executed. He mentioned that. He said that in a couple of interviews. He would have been executed. So Charlie Brown lands in England. Didn't make it back to Kimball, but he ends up landing in England with, and I forget the name of the squadron, but a brand new squadron that was in England that hadn't even flown a mission yet. Here's 17
coming in,
blood everywhere. Hey, welcome to the war, boys.
Right.
Lands, and one of the officers says, we need to recommend you for the Congressional Medal of Honor. Don't know if that's true or not. A couple of the reports say that. He ends up giving a debrief of the incident and talking about this German fighter pilot, basically that had compassion. The whole incident was labeled secret. He was ordered not to mention it. His aircraft was taken, and I don't know that it was salvageable anyways, but it was cordoned off and just kind of whisked away. He was told not to discuss the incident. So a couple things on that, and I'll get to the aftermath a little bit. And after that, Stigler stopped painting. He used to paint symbols on his aircraft every time he was down and then in the aircraft. He stopped doing that after this incident. And there is honor amongst enemy combatants as amongst soldiers. Sometimes, at least in World War II, and there's one such case of it. Now, Charlie Brown didn't really talk about the incident too much either. And he was at a dinner, and I want to say it was 40 years later, something of that nature, and he was with some other veterans, and he was talking about this incident. He said somebody wanted to hear a story about flying or whatnot. He ends up talking about this incident, and they said, you know what, that's one of the most remarkable things I've heard. Yeah. He made a decision to try and find out who this German was. And so he sent an inquiry through the German military. Hey, do you have any information about this incident? How can we follow it up, whatever? And of course they didn't, because Ziegler never told anybody. Right. Nobody knew anything.
Because if he did, he wouldn't be allowed to discuss
Exactly. It. So he ends up writing an article, writing a letter and publishing it in a German veterans publication. And it's just kind of an open letter. And lo and behold, he gets a letter in the mail from Canada basically saying, hi, I'm the one.
That's insane.
And a phone number. So they end up, he called him, and Ziegler provided him many details that Charlie Brown had forgot about or didn't remember because he was oxygen deprived, starved at the time, and they actually ended up becoming very, very close friends, to where they called each other brother. They ended up.
Hear that? That's the beginning of a journey powered by the confidence that comes from driving a vehicle so reliable, it's backed by a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited powertrain warranty. Where your journey ends? Well, that's up to you. Visit your local Kia dealer today. Kia, movement that inspires.
See retailer for warranty details. Always drive safely. Limited inventory available.
Hardy fiber cement siding is proven to withstand water, pests, and fire better than wood-based siding. And it looks better while doing it. Hardy siding has been chosen for 10 million homes and counting. See the proof at jameshardy.com.
Meeting face to face and becoming friends until they both died. I believe in 2003 or 2008. But it's kind of an interesting story. It had nothing to do with politics or any of our conservative banter or anything.
It's a feel-good story of the holidays.
It's kind of a feel-good story for the holidays, and just wanted to share that interesting piece of history that I found.
Well, you know, it's amazing to me, through the darkest times of war, when your enemy is your enemy and you're trained and told the whole time that, you know,
they're all evil, kill them.
They're all evil, kill them. You know, well, unless you go by the rules of NATO or whatever, and then you're supposed to take a prisoner, but what have you. The gist of it is you're in the military, you're in a war, your job is to seek and destroy, so to speak. And for this German pilot, I don't know, this captain, I believe it is Captain Ziegler.
At the time, I believe, but I'm not sure. For him to see this, didn't matter what flag was flying on it, and for him to say, hey, you know what? They've already had the damage. They've already lost brothers and 5 feet from them. They're going to be lucky to make it back, and they're going to try. They're not taking the easy way out to go to Sweden. They're not going to land and taking. I have to do the right thing. That is above country. That is humane, and it's outstanding to me. And it's stunning. And you know, I'm not another thing. I read another piece on Ziegler where he was called a Nazi after the war, and he actually makes a point where he was never a Nazi. He was a German military officer, and he did his duty for his country, but he was not a Nazi. Right. He made that point. Whether he was a Nazi or not, I don't know, but he was adamant about that point, and you know, this action certainly speaks volumes to the man. Now, my grandfather on this side, he fought. His brother fought the European theater, obviously, B-17, and there were several stories he told where the Germans were actually, they wouldn't necessarily go after the Red Crosses or anything like that. They would actually take prisoners and so forth. Where the Japanese, my grandfather fought the Pacific Theater, and they were both officers, but my grandfather was a Pearl Harbor survivor, and then he was in Guadalcanal. And the Japanese forces at the time were not that way. But they were very brutal,
and that was notorious at the time.
Absolutely, they would attack the Red Cross and so forth. So, and this story kind of hit close to home. Also, you know, they both flew out of Kimbolton. They're right around the same time. So,
well, and I think it goes to show you too, as an American, we get this sometimes, that even if the person is your quote unquote mortal enemy, your sworn enemy, whatever, compassion's not a bad thing. If they've already fought the fight and now they're just fighting against themselves to survive, you know, it's okay to do the right thing sometimes.
Yeah, well, you're fighting for your country. You're not fighting. It's not personal. You're not fighting that individual person. But okay,
that's a great story, man. Thank you for sharing that. That's a feel-good story for Christmas for me. I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Now we're going to change gears completely.
We're actually going to get into some politics now.
I don't know how to segue from that story into Andrea-Gate.
Let's just do it.
But what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull Andrea-Gate on the air. Andrea, hey, how are you?
Hey, boys. How are you guys tonight?
Hey, Andrea. Doing well. How about yourself?
Well, I'm excellent. Here's a segue for you. You guys were talking about battle. You were talking about wars. You know, I had a little bit of a war going on this week myself with quite the enemy, I must say.
You were viciously attacked, and when I heard this story, like I said, I was going to kind of talk about it on the air, and then I said, no, I want to go right to the source and bring the amazing. First of all, it's any excuse to get Andrea to come on our show. I think at this point it's pretty obvious.
Oh, thanks. It's always an honor. I'm so proud to be like a member of the SAC. I'm like an honorary SAChead. I'm not just a member of the SACheads Army. I'm proud to claim the mantle of being an honorary SAChead. So I'm honored to be back with you guys.
You're part of the SAChead High Command.
You are. And for those of you who don't know,
oh, okay. Can I have a rank?
A ring?
A rank.
A rank. Like, am I colonel? Am I general? What honor have I earned? Maybe Rooster would need to share that.
Rooster already has. He's our Secretary of State. That's Rooster's. He is. Yeah, we've already determined that's Rooster's rank. We have to get you a good rank. Clint, you're the Ministry of Ranking. What say your office?
I would say Supreme Commander, but
yeah, you know what? I definitely think I'm tougher than that Wesley Clark. He was the Supreme Allied Commander at one point, wasn't he, of NATO? Mm-hmm.
Yes, he was.
Mm-hmm.
How about kicking ass and taking names? Secretary of Kicking Ass and Taking Names.
I like it. I like it very much. So I just need to get a uniform and maybe, you know, a chevron or something on my shoulders, you know, to commemorate the moment.
If you're an officer, you need stuff on your collar or shoulder boards. You don't wear stripes.
Exactly. And I need like a campaign hat and one of those little swagger sticks that my man Patton used to wave around, you know, instill the proper fear in some people. That's what I needed this week. But I just waved my words around this week against a certain particular enemy.
So what happened?
Well, what happened was, you know, I enjoy social media, not just to, you know, try to, you know, talk about any particular work that I do. I love to engage people. I love to talk. I love to have fun. And I love, you know, to get in and dialogue with people about politics. So I saw an article that was posted by, you know, someone who was really, you know, known for being an entertainment reporter. I didn't really follow her because I think I'm like the only person in the country who didn't watch a minute of the OJ trial or Michael Jackson. But, you know, anyway, somehow I found myself Facebook friends with Diane Diamond, who's, you know, made a career, you know, chasing after Michael Jackson. And I guess now that he's dead, she's gotten into politics. So she posted this article. What's that?
That's such a
you don't know who,
switch. Like,
right.
Michael Jackson's dead, so why don't I just go into politics? That's, you know, entertainment to politics.
Speaking of clumsy segues, but, you know, hey, why not? You know, everybody's got to, you know, try to keep a career going. So, but she posted an article that I thought was interesting, and it was, you know, asking about, speaking of the military, about whether or not, you know, an investment, you know, had been lost and all this money to train Petraeus. And then, you know, did we lose out on a good investment over just sex? So I thought, well, it's very interesting that she should be questioning an investment here, given the fact that we're $16 trillion in debt, and this is the only, expensive money that seems to be of concern to her. But anyway, I didn't get into that aspect. I just merely started suggesting that, since he really was no longer in a military capacity, he was the head of the CIA, that, I started connecting some dots to Benghazi, and, suddenly, I started to be on the receiving end of some verbal RPGs, and, on the part of a friend of hers that she claimed later was just some, loose connection of a pen pal who, come to find out is a really close associate of hers, who proceeded to immediately launch into the most vicious, vile, disgusting abuse heaped upon me ever in my personal or professional career. However, I think those who have read the thread there on her Facebook page would commend me for my restraint. I engaged him a little, eventually told him he had gone off the rails, and proceeded to try to get back on point with the thread. He continued to come after me. Later on that night, he cyber-stalked me at 10:30 at night on another Facebook page of mine. I blocked him. About 30 seconds later, she comes back over to my Facebook wall and proceeds to accuse me of lying, make a false accusation that I besmirched one of the heroes who died in Benghazi, and then she blocked me so that I couldn't go back and defend myself. But I happen to have a few Facebook profiles, and so I was able to go back on and continue to see what was said on the thread over there. And so as they've continued to disparage me in a blatant attempt to completely assassinate me and my character personally and professionally. And you boys know what this is all about. It's Saul Alinsky, right? They can't win the argument on its merits, so they seek to diminish the person with whom they disagree.
Yep,
but
absolutely.
I have not. Right, and that's exactly what it was about. Her friend, with all of his, and I can't even repeat FCC regulations. I cannot even repeat what she allowed him to call me all day. And at no
we're on the internet. We're on the internet, Andrea, so you can go ahead and repeat it.
Okay, he called me whore, scum, the word that rhymes with runt. When someone confronted him and said that he needed some anger management, he doubled down on all his vicious words, and he went on and on and on and on with it. Later on, he showed up on my Facebook fan page calling me whore and, hag and all this kind of stuff. So to fast forward on the story, I blocked him, and she comes to my wall, and she levels this lie against me, and to accuse me, the daughter of two Marines, and, other family members. I mean, I come from a long line of military, both sides of my family, to accuse me of besmirching a dead American was beyond the pale to me. I mean, to me, that is high crime right there in and of itself. And then to be so cowardly as to block me so I cannot go and defend myself against this was unacceptable and not to be put up with. I'm not going to tolerate that. Absolutely not going to tolerate it.
What's this dirtbag's name?
Pardon me?
What's this dirtbag's name?
So the dirtbag abuser, well, there's two dirtbags here. I mean, really, there are a couple of low-rent tag team, dirtbags themselves. Her name is Diane Diamond, and let me make sure I spell that correctly to anybody listening, Dimond. His name is Daryl DuPont, DuPont. However, in doing some internet search, pardon me?
Any relation to like the DuPont big family history?
Supposedly, according to sources, Diamond considers herself an investigative journalist. I actually happen to know some who actually do that for a living. And supposedly, his dad was on the New York Giants. His last name was Salatis, and his mother is one of the DuPonts, or part of the DuPont family. I haven't done that research. I haven't done any research on him. I also understand that his past is quite checkered. I haven't done that criminal background check. I will tell you that within moments of people seeing that thread, I had stuff come into my email, about him.
What was his first name again?
Daryl?
Daryl
DuPont, and his
Daryl
Twitter his Twitter profile is @PONTTV. And it's funny because this was an open profile for a while, and now it's been changed to protect, which is just something amazing to me. I do have to, and I have to give Rooster his credit where Rooster went on to her page and left an amazing response and pretty much called her a cop, but did it very intelligently, and actually for Rooster without swearing, so that was impressive.
No, he did.
He did it without swearing.
No, he did.
But, our Secretary of State lashed back on behalf of a member of our cabinet, and I think that was huge. But it goes back to the narrative, and I think we're going to get into this a little bit more with Susan Rice. It goes to the narrative on the liberal side, and I'm assuming they're liberals just by their tactics, and this is almost a calling card at this point of, I can't argue your facts, and you alluded to this earlier, so I'm going to destroy your character. Facts are bad, so I'm going to go after you. And if they had any clue in their head, if they did a little research on you, read your tweets, go to your Facebook page, check your show page, 1510 down there in San Diego, all that, they realize there's no dirt to dig.
Is this DuPont guy out of New Jersey?
Yes.
Oh, he is?
Yeah.
What's weird is I just Googled him, and there's a mugshot online.
He was arrested, according to that, for domestic battery.
Yeah, he was arrested for domestic violence.
That's weird.
It's because only a coward would beat a woman and then go after anybody else, even for expressing an opinion. But to me, this guy is a coward. I mean, he has an arrest record apparently.
We're assuming it's with a woman.
With a woman, yeah.
But I've already seen
we don't know.
Right,
yeah,
we don't know. I'm not judging him.
I'm not judging him. Hey, whatever.
We don't know because I also, had stuff inboxed to me that he had, been let go as a part of a group firing because of some other sketchy stuff that involved him and men. So, whatever his, personal, interests are aside, I mean, clearly the guy is violent and, was verbally abusive to me in a way that I have never personally experienced in my life.
Hey, Andrea, I wonder how much of this isn't him trying to just impress her, almost like, what's his name there, who shot Reagan, trying to impress the actress there.
Yeah, well, maybe to impress her, I wonder if she knows that he's a wife beater. Or
alleged.
Well, I don't know, because it looks like, according to the case record here in filing, it looks like the case was closed for diversion. So it doesn't look to me like it was a not guilty. It looks like it was diversion, which apparently it's working out really well. So New Jersey, good job. I think his anger issues are solved, but maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that, what was actually more shocking to me, because there's crazy people out there, there's nut bars everywhere and there's, bad people. And what was really more shocking to me is, the left pretends that they're the party of women, right? And that it's the Republicans that are waging a war against women and want to snatch all the women's uteruses and hold it hostage. But what was most shocking to me about this is that Diane Dimond did not just sit back and let him abuse me. She participated. It's as though she came across a woman on the street being punched in the face, and instead of helping, it's like she held me down while he punched me and then blamed me for it, and then got pissed at me because I dared to punch back. And that's why this has been dragging out for a week, because they're not used to people speaking up against them. And the only reason why I chose to speak up now, because, I mean, let's be honest, she's not exactly Diane Sawyer. Half the people, don't even know who the heck she is. But she's still a member of the media, however low level. She still has a following. She still has, people who respect her. And she's a part of this media issue that we have as a society and as conservatives. And, someone said to me on Twitter last week that on a go forward, we've got to start dealing with all these media people who are enemies of the state. It's not about even a left-leaning bias anymore or even electioneering. They are actively as part of a strategy attacking citizens, and that's what I feel like this is about. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think so too, and I think it goes to show that for the left, the campaign never ends. They have to keep running their rhetoric. They have to keep, they're one of the best people of, quote unquote, stealing from the cookie jar and blaming somebody else when you say, when you talk about especially the war on women, like, hey, look at what the Republicans are doing. They're trying to hurt the women. The right is just, it's a constant war on the women. They want them barefoot, naked in the kitchen. Meanwhile, they do the exact same thing, but because they're pointing, everyone looks the other way, and it's disgusting to me. And this is actually going to tie in a little bit later with Susan Rice, and this actually ties into two of our stories tonight, just how naive the American public is and how when the left or the mainstream media rams it down their throat, people jump on board, and then you have a-holes like this DuPont guy that have to jump in too. But this brings me back to during the election when all the death threats came in against Mitt Romney, and nothing was done about it.
You know what? I think that it's funny. The left wants to talk about how they're the party, or they're the ones who are open to new ideas. They're the ones that are so accepting of everybody. We can't have Christmas because it leaves certain people out. However, if you and if you say anything about them, or shut down one of their protests because they're urinating and defecating all over the place and there's rapes or whatever, you're prohibiting their freedom of speech, and we have to be accepting of everything. However, the second that somebody has an opinion that is in direct conflict with their opinions, they can't have a grown-up debate or say, hey, I disagree with your opinion. They actually have to resort to these terror-style tactics, these
verbal terror,
these cyber terrorist-like attacks on individuals and start the character assassination, as opposed to having a debate or a conversation on the ideas, or even saying, hey, you know what, I disagree with you, but you have a right to your opinion. So it's kind of funny how, on one hand, they want to be so accepting and loving with everybody, and on the other, if you disagree with them, then they hate you, and they'll do everything they can to assassinate your character.
Absolutely. And what I found so fascinating about this particular act of, and so interesting you should use that word terrorism, because I didn't even really think about that, and that's exactly what it was. What was so interesting about that thread is that there were the only people who were disparaged, the only people who were threatened, the only people who were verbally abused on her thread were women. There was a man named Kevin who spoke up. Now she blocked Rooster on the original thread, but she didn't make any threats against him. She didn't verbally abuse him. It was only women and conservative women on her thread that got attacked. So was it subconscious, or was it just a strategy? Was it coincidence? I don't know.
Andrea, I'm curious because your email or your electronic device that you received this on is based in California, correct?
Yes.
Okay, there's something kind of interesting. I didn't know if you filed a police report or not on this, because I was just doing some research real quick, and there's a penal code section in California, 653M of the penal code. The A section, I'll read it right here. It just says, every person with intent to annoy, telephones, or make contact by means of an electronic communication device with another, with the means to any obscene language or addresses to the other person any threat to inflict injury to the person or property of the person addressed, which would be you, is guilty of a misdemeanor. And I would think that the word that rhymes with blunt would be obscene language, which is addressed specifically to you. So I just didn't know if you filed any kind of report on that with the local authorities.
I hadn't, and that's a good idea. And you guys are the researchers, and you guys, are the detail. You guys are the detail. You probably read more books and have more knowledge in your head, just in 1 week of your work than I have from a whole year. But I hadn't thought about that and researched the code. But it might be a good thing for me to do for a variety of reasons. Number one, because, I don't tolerate bullies. Somebody punches me and I punch back. And second of all, I think that, I need to have some kind of record of this because, both of them, quite frankly, are mind-numbingly crazy, in my opinion.
Well,
and not just because of the abuse. I read a book a few years back that titled "Liberalism is a Mental Disorder," and I'm beginning to think that that's kind of true. And they're both kind of at play here. So.
Hey, Andrea, before you lump me into the group as somebody who's well-researched and well thought out, that's merely Clint, my partner. I just
that's right.
I don't speak very well. I just talk. Speaking of somebody who just talks, your knight in shining armor is on the radio or on the air with us right now, and I think he will get his word in for you. So let me bring in our good friend Rooster from conservativeoutcry.net. Rooster.
Where's my music?
Rooster deserves some special bumper music.
No, I have it.
I'm still waiting on my Chris Matthews mix song that Rock'em Sock'em is supposed to get together.
Red, white, and blue, that's a joke, son. A flag waver.
That's the Rooster intro music. Are you happy?
I'm now happy.
It's fitting you, Rooster. And you know what? I said to you the other day, Rooster, and I meant it. You are a man among men. You have a character and a civility, and you are a gentleman, and you are much appreciated.
But I can also be a sarcastic asshole, and
and that's what attracts the ladies.
You know what really got me about the situation? Now, Andrea didn't tell me that this happened. I've been stalking Andrea for weeks now, trying to get her to send me a certain thing. And when I was about to send my daily tweet to her, I came across something that she said about this incident, and it's really not hard to follow through. Once you find the tweet, you go to one page, you go to another, you go to another, and what she said was true. I mean, it was the most vile, the most disgusting thing that I've ever seen, and I can tell that not all the comments are there anymore, and they weren't there when I read it.
Well, that's convenient, isn't it?
But what gets me is I don't think it's because Andrea is a woman that she blocked her. Diane Diamond was out of her league. I mean, as an investigative reporter, she should have made the connection to Benghazi right away.
Right. So
I mean, it's staring you right in the face. But what really gets me is in my reply to Diane Diamond, which I put on her fan page, in Rooster-esque fashion, I wrote a nice reply. But I also added a little section down at the bottom to prove how educated I am. And she hasn't said a thing. She hasn't threatened legal action against me like she did others. Darryl DuPont hasn't said anything to me. I know he's read it. They will not talk to their betters.
I did read your reply, and it was very intelligent and well-spoken. The problem is you left nothing for them to argue with factually. So they either are left with making stuff up, or they are left with
which they're not above doing,
or they're left to go after you specifically. And I think they know that would be a bad choice for them because you would open up a special page on your website, conservativeoutcry.net, just dedicated to them specifically. So,
I've already promised that to Andrea. But this is a blog posting though that needs molding. I can't do this one in a day. It's going to take a while. I've already started it.
Oh, you have? Well, I'm sure it's going to be molded and crafted into something that's going to be worthy of being in the Smithsonian by the time it's done. So,
yes, it will, and it'll also be legal proof.
Absolutely, and you're right.
Yes, sir.
When you go into the Smithsonian with this, you have to make sure that you put Secretary of Sackhead State, Rooster Cogburn. It has to be the title.
Well, that and they get a copy because the original I think should go in the Sackhead Museum.
Yeah, that should go in the Sackhead Museum.
So.
Well, we're working on it, and I'll let Andrea read it before I post it.
Well,
the liberals just piss. Not all liberals. I can't say that, but
media liberals.
Those type of people piss me off.
This is the constant thread with mainstream media and left media. It's not necessarily liberals as a party, because there are some liberals, as we've talked about numerous times, you can have a conversation with. But media liberals, it appears, Chris Matthews is the best at this. When I have nothing factual to discuss and I have no factual rebuttal, I go after the person. And that's an ongoing trend, and they think that people overlook it, and it's ridiculous.
They're bullies.
Exactly. Exactly.
Which is funny.
But Rooster picks up on.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Andrea.
Well, I was going to say that I hadn't thought of it, but Rooster brings up a good point that early on in the thread, even before he came out and came on and started abusing me, she kept she was trying to redirect it away from Benghazi. And I didn't even pick up on it at the time, because after it took on, the abuse, I'd kind of forgotten she did that. And so, she clearly did not want the conversation to go to Benghazi. I mean, and that's something that the left, is really, really trying to avoid. And that's why I was so happy to read your response to her on the fan page, because you posed those questions to her about Benghazi, and and to have no response. It's just
well, unlike Daryl DuPont,
what kind of journalist is that?
Well, unlike Daryl DuPont, those weren't my friends; they're my brothers.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, he says,
but he wouldn't. He wouldn't know about that.
Right. And I don't believe that he actually knew this guy, because before he blocked his tweets, I mean, I went and looked at his timeline the week up, the entire month of September. If I had lost a friend in Benghazi, I wouldn't be tweeting about the New Orleans Saints all day for 3 weeks straight, never mentioning it.
Yeah, seriously. No,
I think that was a rude.
He's one of those people.
Pardon me?
He's one of those people that makes himself a part of a tragedy in order to push his narrative forward.
Right. Well, I mean, he may know the guy, but I just find it odd that that supposedly a close friend of his died, but then he's on Twitter all day, talking about the Giants. Whether he knows him or not, he does not have the emotional connection to the situation that Rooster does.
Well, he doesn't have a mental connection either, apparently. So, hey, Andrea, is there anything you want to say to your knight in shining armor, Rooster? Because we're way past our break and we have to move on to our next segment.
Well, the only thing I want to say is that I think that it's tough to maintain your cool when going up against somebody like that, and I'm just amazed at Rooster's ability to do that and to articulate something, and that's why he's the great blogger that he is. And so hat tip of the day goes to you, Rooster.
Oh, I appreciate it. I actually enjoyed it. And,
you did.
Social media can be a bitch. I hope it continues. Because
we'll see if she
my
responds.
followers are not automatically done through some program. I pick each one of them personally, and I'm sure that all 4,000 of mine would love to tweet Miss Diamond.
Yeah, well, we'll see if she responds to a couple of tweets that I sent her today, and in response to her attack on me just last night. The original thread and incident was Monday, and she came out and attacked me last night. So, but the one last thing I want to say before I let you boys go is, and just to piggyback on one more brilliant comment by Rooster, I find it hypocritical and odd and offensive that she shut me down and blocks me to keep me off the thread, but she culled one of my, albeit intelligent, political comments and put it on her website.
Yeah, it's weird, right? Like, hey, this is really good.
Not only did she do that, she actually proved one of the points in my comment where I questioned her motive for writing the article. If you read one of her comments, she specifically says, "I wanted to come at it from another side."
Oh.
Yeah, well,
You gave her a little help there.
But
well, that's what Rooster is. He's just a great big helper.
Diane
He
Diamond is an
helper
asshole.
extraordinaire.
So is Daryl DuPont. He's an asshole. And it's Conservative Outcry, at Conservative Outcry, if they're listening right now, or if they get word of this, feel free to tweet me. Feel free to tweet at Sackheads. I'm sure that we could have a nice little back and forth.
Why don't we hashtag this? Why don't we hashtag this Andrea-Gate?
Ooh, I like that. Andrea, I love it. Are you guys game? You guys want to do that tomorrow?
Absolutely. We'll get on board with that.
I don't know what that means.
We'll have some fun with it. Rooster, you're just full of all kinds of brilliance. I love it.
I have nothing to do all day.
What's that?
I have nothing to do all day except on Tuesdays when your show is on.
Hey, what about Friday night?
Because that's when my kids get home.
What about Friday night? I know. You know
I
what?
missed the last couple of shows. If you guys remember.
If I was pretty smart, intelligent, and I had my own radio show, Rooster would care about me too. But I only have my own radio show, so everything else is lost.
But you do look great in meals.
I do look amazing in meals. Hey, Andrea K. from FinancialNewsAndTalk.com down there in San Diego, conservative talk show host, and Rooster from ConservativeOutcry.net. We'll check back with you guys this week and see next week and see how this fires up. All right.
All right, guys. Have a good weekend.
You guys, Paul.
Take care, guys.
Bye-bye now.
Bye.
We're going to take a little break. We'll be back in a few, and I think we're going to talk about something else.
Yeah, I don't know.
How you doing? John Grant here. When I'm not slaving over a hot microphone on the 405radio.com Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern, I check out Sean and Clint here at Sackheads Radio. We all appreciate the best political bloggers, writers, and commentators. We either get them on our shows or we make fun of them, as it should be. So check us out live Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern or forever on the podcasts on the 405radio.com.
Hey folks, this is Sackhead Clint. I want to take this opportunity to thank the men and women of our armed forces, as well as our first responders, law enforcement, firefighters, and emergency medical personnel. Thank you for all you do. Thank you for making this country and our communities a better and safer place. God bless.
Hi, this is Sarah Marie Brenner. You know, we often talk on the Brenner Brief about the fact that there really needs to be an organization to help people at the local level who are interested in running for things like school boards, city council, and other local offices. Well, I think I finally have the solution for you, at least for you women out there. It's called Politigal Network, POLITIGAL Network.com. Their website's going to be launching mid-August, but they're already on Twitter at PolitigalUSA. I encourage you to follow them and become a member. Their goal is to be the #1 resource for conservative women. So if you love freedom, liberty, the United States of America, and politics, check out PolitigalNetwork.com or Twitter at PolitigalUSA.
Hey guys, it's Sean from Sackheads Radio. I know I've said it before. Check out our friends at ConservativeOutcry.net, but I really mean it. If you want interesting and exciting political commentary and analysis, that is the place to get it. Different, always spot on, always truthful, never pulling a punch. ConservativeOutcry.net. Tell Rooster to get Bulldog back on and that Sackheads Radio sent you. And also, coming soon, the Sackheads Radio Forum on ConservativeOutcry.net.
Hey guys, it's Sean from Sackheads Radio. I want to talk to you a minute about our friends over at HomefrontHugs.com. They're an amazing organization of volunteers who take their time, effort, and money to take care of our troops overseas as they serve our great nation. HomefrontHugs.com. You can donate, write letters to troops, adopt a troop, you name it, you can do it. Help those wonderful folks who protect our freedoms. Go to HomefrontHugs.com. Tell them Sackheads Radio sent you.
Hey, this is Sackhead Clint. I want to take this opportunity to thank our men and women in uniform of the armed forces. Hey, this is Sackhead Clint. I want to take this opportunity to thank our men and women. Hey, this is Sackhead Clint. I want to take this opportunity to thank the men and women of our armed forces, as well as our... God.
You going to mention me this time?
Thank you, Sean. You said mention you, right?
Oh.
You totally need to keep that as an outtake.
Now back to Clint and Sean on Sackheads Radio, radiating elegancy and quality.
And we're back, and again, thanking Andrea-Gate and Rusev for joining us to discuss the whole debacle with Diamond and DuPont, which sounds like a law firm, but it's not. So the Senate did pass a new set of sanctions against Iran. That happened this week.
And it was actually unanimous.
It was unanimous, 94-0.
Good job.
So,
hey, did you
another set of sanctions that will never be enforced? Actually,
good job, U.S. Senate. Thanks for doing something. Hey, your job is to pass the budget. Why don't you try doing that?
Well, the president hasn't given it. Oh wait,
that's not his job. Oh,
right, forget it.
Hey, do you ever read Pravda? I've seen it on your.
I'm on the mailer. I'm on the mailer.
No, you are. It's a communist Russian newspaper, and anyways, they did an article recently how Obama was reelected for a second term by a quote illiterate society, and he's raising his lives to flex taxes while he raises them, which is awesome. They also talked about how Putin was not real; he actually had an economic plan for his country, and Obama was reelected when he actually didn't have an economic plan for his country. So that's interesting. And quoting another article here, he is a communist without question, promoting the communist without calling it so. How shrewd he is in America. His cult of personality mesmerizes those who cannot go beyond their ignorance. They will continue him like those fools who still praise Lenin and Stalin in Russia. Wow.
Now, wait a minute.
Yes.
They kind of called us out as a nation because we are one, we are a nation.
Yeah, and why isn't this all over the mainstream media? Well, never mind. I know why.
Well, because it's the mainstream media, and once again.
Yeah. And see, I actually found an article about it on Wiki.com.
Michelle Malkin's, one of Michelle Malkin's websites that she's involved in.
Okay. And then the other English Pravda is english.pravda.ru.
Right.
That has the article, and that's the American Pravda.
Well, and this is a
English version.
This is a columnist. This is an opinion article by an Xavier Lerma.
Mm-hmm.
But it's funny. Some of the facts that he lays out are very true in a way that I don't want them to be, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? It's scary. And he goes into the whole thing about pretty much that one of the things that I love, he says, he, meaning the president, gives speeches of peace and love in the world while he promotes Egypt, Libya, and Syria. And I think he's talking about the removal of heads of state there, respectively. Syria hasn't been done yet with Assad, but Egypt with not Hosni Mubarak. Yeah, Hosni Mubarak, and Libya with Muammar Gaddafi. And now those three countries altogether are in a state of what's close to our, especially with Mohamed Morsi seizing power last week, which we discussed on the show. And he goes through a lot and says, kind of points out the president's ties to communist values.
Yeah. Look, he's the same article references Putin's speech, and without knowing the author, according to this, and again, I'm reading this directly from the article from english.pravda.ru. He says, here's some of the quotes from the speech. He said, if you didn't know that this was Putin speaking, you would think it was written by Reagan or another conservative in America that speaks from a smaller government, less taxes. Here's some of the quotes. We are reducing taxes on production, investing money in the economy. We're optimizing state expenses. The second possible mistake would be excessive interference into the economic life of the country and the absolute faith into the all-meaningless mightiness of the state. He says there are no grounds to suggest that by putting the responsibility over to the state, one can achieve better results. So here we have Putin espousing these conservative ideals, maybe because they've tried the other crap and it didn't work.
And this was a guy.
And now we have Pravda calling us out and basically saying flat out that Obama is a, quote, a communist without question, promoting Communist Manifesto without calling it so.
And I would think that they would have a pretty good insight into what communism
looks like.
I think it's absolutely amazing that they slam Obama considerably in here. And like you said,
and the American people.
And the American people. They called us fools.
Well, and what it says is any normal individual understands that as true, that liberalism is a psychosis, which is kind of funny because Andrea and Ruth are kind of talking about that.
Yeah, it is an illness.
Segment.
Well, and to go back to Putin, for Putin to make that speech, and whether he believes it or he wants the people to believe it, the simple fact is he was really high in the KGB, and he was running a lot behind the Iron Curtain, if you will.
Right, I mean, he was running so much behind the curtain that, I mean, the curtain would kind of
wobble sometimes.
Sometimes it would
You
wobble.
can actually see the movement.
Which is weird because it's iron, but that's how awesome he is. Essentially, I don't know.
The guy rides bears, lands planes in a fire zone, and takes pictures of himself horseback, shirtless with a rifle, and he's the head of state. You know what I mean? He's not afraid. He can move on.
He is a Republican.
He is a Republican. Oh, man. Yeah, that... it's all right there.
Exactly what every Republican in the United States would do.
And I'll link this to our website so other people can read it. It's shocking. You know, I do that. Let me handle it. Don't think too much.
Okay.
You'll get hurt. Trust me.
Good. Seriously, you know, I still know how to use decimal system.
Yeah, I'm not shocked by that.
Okay.
So, well, let's move on.
No.
Okay. It's upsetting to me.
Okay.
Here's this website in Russia.
No, let's move on. So,
you guys can't just see. I told Clint he's number one. I used this
twice. You told me.
Before I get away from that article, it's so bad that they actually use the Bye Bye Miss American Pie to prove a point. The song, and they go all the way down through the lyrics. Just read it. I'm frustrated now. I'm completely frustrated that a Russian newspaper that used to be communist, if it's not still a communist newspaper in some ways, is calling us fools. That's what we've done to our own country.
And by we mean the progressive world.
But we own it as a nation right now.
We do.
We own it as a nation. So change our way of thinking. We own this as a nation.
We do. I want to talk about something else here, and we went pretty long in our first segment, and I know we had several things we wanted to get to. What do you think? And I know your thought on this, but I want you to get it out for our listeners. What do you think about several of the Republicans in the House that want to try and, I don't want to say cave, but they're more inclined to give in a fair amount to the president in order to avoid this quote unquote fiscal cliff?
Well,
what do you think about the Republicans' move? I have my own take on it.
Right.
And I'm curious what yours is. You want to hear mine first?
Yeah, you go first.
Okay. Look, I think that Americans reelected the Republicans in the House. We maintained control of the House. Okay.
That did happen.
The House controls the person. Well, hey, just like the president was reelected, the people also said, hey, we expect the House to the Republicans to stay in power in the House, and you're a check. The House controls the purse strings.
Yeah,
people. So, yeah, what is there? Look, if the Republicans are actually in, they may not have the majority in the Senate, they may not have the presidency, they are not the party in power right now.
No.
But they have the House. They have control of the purse strings. They can defund things.
Absolutely.
And if you have that control, why don't you exercise your constitutional power as a check on the other branch which would be the executive, for those of you that don't read the stinking Constitution, and actually work together on a solution. And don't tell me that, well, by us capitulating on taxes or whatnot, we're working together. No, because the president is not really giving anything on anything. And you have some members now that are saying, oh, we're going to, we signed a tax pledge 20 years ago, and hey, guess what? It's a pledge. You're either a person of your word or you're not. Is that a principal value for you? And if it is, then you don't compromise what your principles are. If it's something that is not a principle for you and it's something that you can compromise on, then okay, but don't compromise or go too far one direction so quickly because you're afraid of what people may do or may think, or you don't want to be accused of being held back. They're going to accuse you of holding them back. They had control of the House, Senate, and the presidency for the first 2 years, and they accused you of holding them back. So how about you stick up for principles? Look, when the Republicans do well is when they go back to their conservative ideals. And this kind of goes into the whole, where does the Republican Party go from now? When did Republicans do well? They did well under Reagan.
Yes.
When they were really strong, held to their conservative ideals, specifically financially. They did well in the 90s in the House when you had Newt Gingrich, who was in there holding to conservative values. And Newt Gingrich and Bill Clinton worked together face to face, which, by the way, Obama and Boehner are not doing because Obama's out campaigning still. Yeah, so they worked together face to face to come up with a solution, and you had a staunch conservative. They did well in 2010 at the midterms when the conservatives really held to the conservative values, and they ended up taking the House and picking up seats in the Senate. So why are you now going to start going backwards? We ran Romney. That didn't work out, people, for a reason.
Let's go to values then.
Yeah.
Because we got away with it with Romney.
Maybe
we stayed away.
Yep. Maybe we go back to our conservative core values and we don't cave on our principles.
Well,
that's my thought on it. I want to get yours.
I understand, like, when you brought up Clinton in the 90s, they went face to face and they gave a little bit where it didn't count, if that makes sense. And Clinton was willing to work with them and cut certain things that needed cutting.
Because that's his job. Right. I don't care what party you are.
He's the CEO. He's the CEO of the company. It's his job to produce money.
We have
at the end of the day,
we have a system of checks and balances. You're supposed to work together.
Yeah. You're supposed to find, and you don't have to give up your core values to work together.
Exactly.
You can find ground where you both can meet without giving them up. And this is what the GOP does, it seems like, every 12 years or so, where they're like, oh, my God, we lost the presidency.
Yeah.
Because they did this at first when Clinton first got elected after George W. was out. They kind of started to give a little bit. It wasn't really until Newt really started to stand up and kind of push them back and say, hey, no, you know what?
And Dick Morris came in from the Clinton cabinet and really forced Clinton to the center also.
Right, and Dick Morris pretty much said to Clinton, yeah, if you don't do this, we're going to be out of money. And like out of job. Absolutely. And like every other presidency, they mortgage things down the line. But he did it in a way where it made sense and it was intelligent. They cut more defense back then, and they cut a lot of funding to intelligence, stuff like that, which...
Obama talked about during the campaign, we need a balanced approach. We need a balance. I mean, how many sound bites? I don't know if we have. We need a balanced approach. Well, hey, Mr. President, where's your balanced approach now? Because I hear Republicans ready to compromise on their principles and increase taxes. I mean, not just closing loopholes, which would, in essence, raise taxes on certain people, close the loopholes, which I know Romney talked about during the campaign. But they're actually talking about raising taxes, which I absolutely disagree with, but I digress. Mr. President, where's your balance? Where's your balanced approach?
What programs are you going to cut?
Yeah, what
loopholes are you going to close? What are you going to do different that you didn't do in the first 4 years? You added.
So how come
you added Obamacare the first 4 years, and you did nothing to subtract the amount of money that we're going to spend on it.
Why do the Republicans have to give one side and you're not willing to come up with your balanced approach now? Because maybe I'm missing something, which is possible. I've had a very busy week. So maybe I missed something where the president came up and said, since you guys are talking about these tax cuts, or hey, we may have to raise taxes now, it sounds like the Republicans may cave. Because I talked about this balanced approach, I'm willing to cut certain programs. Has he said that? Did I miss something?
No, I think he was in Pennsylvania. I don't know what he was campaigning for. He had no jacket on, no tie, and he was at a plant. Is he running for office in 4 more years? I don't know. Grand Chancellor or something? I don't know what he's running for. But instead of...
He might not have to run if he... Never mind.
Well, and instead of turning around and being like, hey, you know what, guys?
He might not have to run if he cancels the Constitution because of some major economic crisis. And
he seizes power because he can.
Well, you're such a conspiracy theorist. Can you just stop?
And Roosters in the chat room brought this up and said, let's jump over the fiscal cliff, and I'd love to have your point of view on that. Should we just let it go?
Fuck yeah. Yeah.
We already lost the PG rating anyhow. So.
Yeah. Look, hey, you know what? Let's do a base jump, no parachute.
Yeah.
Let's
see what happens.
Look, here's the bottom line. If we raise taxes, especially in this economy, if we raise taxes, we're going to be in worse shape. He's going to try and push through another stimulus package.
Without a doubt.
Healthcare is going to kick in. We cannot afford this stuff. You know what? Hey, we go off a fiscal cliff, and guess what, Republicans? It's not just your fault. So now the Democrats are going to have to explain also at the upcoming midterms why they weren't willing to compromise and work with Republicans. They control the executive and the Senate. So, yeah, look, it's certain tax hikes are going to go into effect, but I think if that happens, I think that, look, it can't be the Republicans the only ones that are trying to stop this from happening. What are you going to do, raise the debt ceiling again? What, Geithner is now calling for no limit on the debt ceiling?
Zero limit.
Seriously?
So unlimited spending.
I think maybe if we allow ourselves to go off this quote-unquote fiscal cliff now, we have to face these problems now, and we have to address certain things now to get things going again. It kind of forces that hand. Whereas if we don't, look, we're ending up kicking it down the line again, and we are going to collapse, and we will have absolutely no control over it whatsoever. It'll be too late to do anything. So yeah, we put these tax hikes in place, and then we end up with another quantitative easing. We end up printing more money or monetizing or digitizing more money. We end up doing these things it's going to collapse us. There's no way around it, folks. I mean,
raising more taxes, and for people that don't understand, when you raise more taxes, that's almost like you telling your boss you're going to pay me more. That's what it comes down to. When the government raises taxes on you, it's almost like you going to your boss if you have a job and say, you know what, you have to pay me more. Well, I can only punch, or I'm not going to be able to.
Right.
No, doesn't matter. You have to pay me more. Why don't you do this? Raise your credit limit with the bank so you can pay me more. Make it a no limit on the bank. Just tell the bank, you know what, as much money as I need, you give to me. I'll pay you back when I get to it.
Man, no, I'm not going to pay you back. You're going to pay me because you're using my service.
Right. It's just insane to me. So I agree with you. I know Rooster's in total agreement with you because he is just chatting like crazy now. He's channeling you. I say we have.
Hey, I have a suggestion. This goes directly to our politicians, but I say it might be a good idea for the listeners too. All three of you. Read Wealth of Nations. If you haven't read Wealth of Nations, play this game. This is a great game. Door-to-door salesman. I do this with the salesman. I say, hey, I will listen to your sales pitch. I stop them. I will listen to your sales pitch, and I will buy what you're selling if you can tell me who came up with this idea, the free market economy, and specifically the name of the book that was published, I guess, in 1776. Who was the author and what was the name of the publication? That pretty much is the blueprint for our economic foundation. Because, hey, you're obviously a capitalist. You're here trying to sell me something. And the look I get is freaking awesome. And then when they kind of laugh and they try and give me a pitch, I shut the door on it.
Now, for anyone who thinks that you're kidding,
oh no, I'm serious.
If you've ever listened to the show, you know better. If you've never listened to the show, he's dead serious about this.
Oh yeah.
Listen, it's gonna come to a head eventually. Whether we do it slowly and it's just death by 1,000 paper cuts, if you will, or
that would really hurt.
Exactly.
I mean, 1,000, I don't know if it would kill you.
Or we could just jump,
but several thousand would probably
get it over with. And I go to the whole darkest before dawn, worst before it's better. But once we hit bottom and people really realize what's important and what's no longer important and what we have to do as a nation, because for the left to be we all need to be together, hug, blah, 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 get on they don't realize that we can all do good together if everyone actually works. And I don't necessarily.
I have to tell you a story. Right now. And I just want to know the Rooster's reaction in the chat room.
Oh, no.
Story. This is a true story. I was in a grocery store, and a lady in front of me was talking on her brand new iPhone 5, and she had a Dooney and Burke purse, so a more expensive purse, and she paid for her groceries with food stamps. I went out to the parking lot after I paid for my groceries, and this lady was loading her groceries into a brand new Cadillac Escalade with paper plates on it still. So dealer plates on it.
Brand new?
Yeah. That's a problem.
What?
That's a problem. So I'm pretty sure that we can find somewhere to cut.
Well, yeah. Listen, let's face it. There's so
I have
much
an idea for where
abuse.
to start.
Well, there's so much abuse in our system and we've talked about this before. The people that really, first of all, the people that really truly need it.
Go get a job if you truly need it. No, I'm just kidding.
The people that really truly need it don't get it as easily as the ones that don't. And that's what drives me crazy because, and a lot of times, the people that really need it don't work hard to get it because they're almost embarrassed to take it.
I have a friend whose sister has a child who is disabled. And she gets money from the state for the disabled child to help care for the child because there are a lot of expenses associated with that. This is a person who truly needs this disability.
Right.
Now, understanding this is in California where people get disability for attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. If you think I'm kidding, look it up.
No.
So she actually has a state auditor come to her house every year or two. I was just having a conversation with him about this yesterday. And she has to prove through records and receipts basically that her daughter is disabled. Look, the child has a condition that is not going away. How many times does a government employee, need to come out and verify that the child is disabled with a permanent disability? It's permanent. It's not going anywhere. This is a legitimate case. How many times do people that are abusing the system get audited? Why are you going to waste my tax dollars? And by the way, thanks for raising my taxes, California.
Oh, yeah.
Why are you going to waste tax dollars sending somebody out to a case where you have it's verified. Every time you go out there, the child is disabled. It's a permanent condition. So
it's not getting better.
Look, there's places to cut, and this is I'm kind of digressing a little bit here, but the Democrats, I believe, need to come to the table, and in order to make a deal, look, if the Democrats came to the table and said, look, we're willing to cut X, Y, and Z, these are serious cuts. We're not going to touch these 2, 3, whatever things because, hey, these are our principled items. We're not going to touch these. And the Republicans said, hey, you know what? We're not going to touch these things because these are sacred to us. However, we're willing to compromise on X, Y, and Z. That's how deals should be reached. That's how you work together in a bipartisan way. And if part of that is raising taxes as much, that pains me to say because I don't think that should be done, especially in an economy right now. But if part of that is, hey, we're going to raise taxes, but the way we're going to do it is by closing loopholes. We're going to take away the charitable contribution deduction. Is that going to hurt charities? Yeah, it's going to hurt charities, or we're going to do it by taking away the mortgage interest credit or whatever it is. It's going to suck, but it's going to raise revenue. It is an increase in taxes because you're eliminating that deduction, but you're not directly raising taxes, if that makes sense.
Right.
Well, so there's room to deal on the tax issue on the Republican side. Look, there's room to deal on the Democrat side with the cuts. They're not doing it. I see the Republicans willing to make a lot of concessions, and the White House isn't giving any.
Well, yeah, and it goes back to the whole, and this is the problem with this president. Everything I say is intelligent. And everything I say
is intelligent. You're sackhead Sean.
No, besides me. But this is kind of the narrative that you get from him is, if it's my idea, it's a great idea. If it's your idea, it's terrible, meaning the right. And I'm not going to play ball with you, and you're going to hold this country hostage. You always hold this country hostage. Right. Every single time. You hold this country hostage. You did it when I was trying to pass Obamacare. You tried to hold us up because I had the votes and I cared so much about this country. I added $10 trillion to the debt, and there was nothing you could do with it. Now that there's something you can do about it, I'm going to tell everyone how awful you are and how much you hate people.
Right. And not only that, not only is it his ideas, but it's his ideas as well, which is amazing.
Well, on that note, we're going to take a break because, you know what? I have to practice where my eyes go. Because apparently, when I say Kai, you give me hell. When I say pizza, you give me hell. What do you want me to pizza? We'll be back in 3.5 Sackheads Radio. Hey, tell us what you think about my fiscal clip. 347-205-9399. Call in and share. Maybe we'll put it up.
How you doing? John Grant here. When I'm not slaving over a hot microphone on the 405radio.com Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern, I check out Sean and Clint here at Sackheads Radio. We all appreciate the best political bloggers, writers, and commentators. We either get them on our shows or we make fun of them, as it should be. So check us out live Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern or forever on the podcasts on the 405radio.com.
Hey folks, this is Sackhead Clint. I want to take this opportunity to thank the men and women of our armed forces, as well as our first responders, law enforcement, firefighters, and emergency medical personnel. Thank you for all you do. Thank you for making this country and our communities a better and safer place. God bless.
Hi, this is Sarah Marie Brenner. You know, we often talk on the Brenner Brief about the fact that there really needs to be an organization to help people at the local level who are interested in running for things like school boards, city council, and other local offices. Well, I think I finally have the solution for you, at least for you women out there. It's called Politigal Network, Politigal Network.com. Their website's going to be launching mid-August, but they're already on Twitter at PolitigalUSA. I encourage you to follow them and become a member. Their goal is to be the #1 resource for conservative women. So if you love freedom, liberty, the United States of America, and politics, check out PolitigalNetwork.com or Twitter at PolitigalUSA.
Hey guys, it's Sean from Sackheads Radio. I know I've said it before. Check out our friends at conservativeoutcry.net, but I really mean it. You want interesting and exciting political commentary and analysis? That is the place to get it. Different, always spot on, always truthful, never pulling a punch. conservativeoutcry.net. Tell Rooster to get Bulldog back on and that Sackheads Radio sent you. And also, coming soon, the Sackheads Radio Forum on conservativeoutcry.net.
Hey guys, it's Sean from Sackheads Radio. I want to talk to you a minute about our friends over at HomefrontHugs.com. They're an amazing organization of volunteers who take their time, effort, and money to take care of our troops overseas as they serve our great nation. HomefrontHugs.com. You can donate, write letters to troops, adopt a troop, you name it, you can do it. Help those wonderful folks who protect our freedoms. Go to HomefrontHugs.com. Tell them Sackheads Radio sent you.
Hey, this is Sackhead Clint. I want to take this opportunity to thank our men and women in uniform of the armed forces. Hey, this is Sackhead Clint. I want to take this opportunity to thank our men and women. Hey, this is Sackhead Clint. I want to take this opportunity to thank the men and women of our armed forces, as well as our... God.
You gonna mention me this time?
Thank you, Sean. Is that good? You said mention you, right?
Oh.
You totally need to keep that as an outtake.
Now back to Clint and Sean on Sackheads Radio, radiating elegancy and quality.
We are back radiating LNC quality. Let me ask you this question. What? Have you subscribed to our podcast?
Yeah.
Right. And for those who don't, I pose this to you. It's pretty awesomeness. What's free? So go to YouTube. Go to YouTube. Sorry, go to iTunes. Go to podcast. Go to video. Subscribe and listen. So if you miss a live show,
Free awesome.
it's free awesomeness. You can't get free awesomeness just anywhere, but we're giving it up like crazy here at Sackheads Radio.
And I'll name a lot of other places.
Yeah, well, there's an awesomeness tax now.
Which coincidentally is why we don't make any money, is because our awesomeness is taxed at 100%.
So we have to apologize to Sacco.
Why?
Well, because he's helping now produce the
Sackhead
show.
Sacco.
Sackhead Sacco.
Sack stock.
Whenever we leave the room for a break and we're cutting it close, we come back and he's pacing. Because what most people know
is there's like a piddle trail that follows exactly where he was pacing while we were gone, because he's like, I'm actually gonna have to get on the air.
I have to do show
9.
Hey, and then we come running in and knocking each other over to get to our headsets.
And then he's like trying to big hug, and like with tears streaming.
Well, and I feel bad because every time we go to a break, he's like, hey, this sound thing good, we should try this. And I'm like, yeah, we'll talk about it after the show.
Yeah,
and we walk away from him like crazy. And he's like, hey, why don't we do this? And I'm like, yeah, no.
Whatever. And meanwhile, he's trying to poop, jumping out of the hand.
Yeah, you guys are a bunch of jerks.
Oh, real good. See what happens when we get a technical guy that knows how to cut in on the show, speaking him in.
I told you we should have went on chimpanzee.
My brother couldn't be here.
Yeah, well, So.
Hey, I saw a new article about the new flagpoles in Iran. Have you heard about new flagpoles?
I have
in
not.
Iran. The belief or the fear is that this is some sort of satellite jamming technology.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not making this up. Actually, I got this from Fox News. It's an article that was published today, and they were saying that these particular flagpoles, they seem to be simple flagpoles, but this one particular style is popping up all over Tehran, and they believe it's some sort of clandestine electronic antenna, which could use high-frequency waves to jam satellite communication, but also could be used to block regular citizens from using the internet, television, radio, and so forth.
Wow. So the Free Republic of Iran.
They're not free.
Oh, wait. I just meant they're not really a republic.
They're not.
So the dictatorship of Iran,
right,
has put in
the evil regime.
The scumbags that lead Iran,
okay,
have put in these devices that essentially can limit people's communication when the government decides that it.
That's the belief. That's what they believe.
Again, we never know what comes out of Iran. You know what I mean? Sometimes
crap.
Right.
It's crap.
But this technology, I'm sure they have radar jamming technology on some level. It could be old. It could be new. I can't imagine that it's hard to tweak that to sell signal on the internet.
No, but again, these are new flagpoles. But I just thought it was interesting. There's not, a whole lot to discuss. It was kind of hey, this is interesting. Hey, that's interesting.
Well, and it's funny, too, because I heard...
It's not funny. I'm actually kind of concerned about it.
Because then you go to Saudi Arabia, where there's a new program for your phone where if your wife leaves the house, you have to leave the nation, and you can even set parameters from what I'm told. I haven't seen it. You get a text message as the man of the house. Isn't that bizarre?
Oh, did you say bizarre? I thought you said awesome.
Well, there you go.
They're a bunch of man haters.
I was just about to say.
Yeah. Hey, Miss Doctor, put that on there.
Yeah, here comes the war on women.
Look at this.
Here it comes.
Yeah. Pretty sure Pretty sure I have that installed on my phone.
Yeah, except it's the other way around.
Yeah, exactly. I installed that. Wait, what?
It's just bizarre to me, these countries that I'm not saying it's a hard technology. Maybe it has to do with their cell phone and it's just GPSing. But that's just such. I would never even.
And they're doing what?
GPSing.
Okay.
What? I don't know.
I don't know.
How do I say that in a language for you to understand?
I don't know. It sounded weird to me. Maybe they put that on their cell phone when they're GPSing. It struck me as odd.
No, I asked if GPSing, if that's how it was being used.
I don't know.
It's on the wife's cell phone. The cell phone's in the pocket. If it moves a certain parameter or distance away from 0 point, then it alerts.
But how do you set the 0 point?
Oh, well, I'm sure the husband would take the phone, center it, put it in their pocket, and say, don't leave the house without your cell phone.
And then what happens?
Then if she leaves the house, well, I think in Saudi Arabia, I think they can still beat women freely. So,
ladies and gentlemen, if you notice that supposed technology that my partner knows nothing about, he was able to just identify specifically how to install this particular program on the house's device, activate it, give an order to said spouse, and then monitor such device. So for somebody who doesn't know about these things, pretty much just gave specific instructions. All right, go ahead. Well, I
was actually going somewhere with it. So in Saudi Arabia,
soccer.
In Saudi Arabia,
cyber stalker.
They're using to kind of control and run around and make sure their wives aren't doing anything that they don't think is appropriate.
Basically the same reason.
In this nation, we have Foursquare, Facebook, where people willingly go online on a regular basis, husbands and wives, check in all over the place to make people know where they are. Isn't that just like a weird paradox?
Yes, unless, you use this program because your wife is one of those who doesn't like Facebook, doesn't check, and shouldn't do those things.
Right.
So it's difficult for you to monitor her whereabouts.
It's really not. All I have to do is pull up the bank account.
Well, I thought it was weird when she left her phone. One time she devised that little device to put in my stroller. So that was awesome.
I love how you just sit here and spout lies. It's amazing.
Hang on a second here. You just accused me of lying.
Yeah.
Prove it. Where is your proof that I am telling a falsehood right now?
And I'll tell you what. For the listeners at home, you had that stupid look on your face.
I always have a stupid look.
You do always have a stupid look on your face.
It looks like a brown paper bag with a squiggly line.
I'm sure eventually Iran's flagpoles will probably be coming to a nation near us. Maybe Canada, maybe Mexico, probably us.
You know what?
Because they don't need the device that tells them where we are, because we do that for the government. We tell the government anyone can go on and do it. So the next step would be to put in these Iranian flagpoles. So if you buy a flagpole and it says made in Iran,
I want it, and here's why.
Okay.
Because when they start flying drones over United States cities, I want a flagpole at my house. I have a flagpole at my house anyways, but I want one of these flagpoles made in Iran at my house because I'm going to jam that freaking signal. I don't want anybody watching me. You fly over my house, it's a friggin' dead zone. You're not going to know what I'm doing. You're not going to be able to talk, use your radio, use your little drone. You're going to fly a drone over my house and it's going to crash into my roof, and then I'm going to make you buy me a new roof.
Here's my theory.
What?
About drones. I'm one of those people, if they're watching me, it's going to be, it's almost like when someone's like, and I agree with the constitutionality of the government staying out of my house. We talked about that before. I'm 100% for it. Me personally, I am one of the most boring people on the planet. So if they want to waste their time, I'll give them a show. I have an 8-foot stockade fence around the house. Look, if there's a drone flying overhead and they want to see it, it might be time for me to go out and suntan.
No, here's the problem.
And by suntan, I mean no clothes.
Yeah, no.
Throw it around the football with a couple pals.
But here's what. Wait, what? Doing some Greco-Roman wrestling with some baby oil.
Up on the roof re-shingling.
Look, here's the problem, and here's where it may be a little important for you. If you like to do that thing that would end up on YouTube, and the government might post it, because you like dressing up like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man and putting up cardboard boxes like it's like New York City, and then going through. And I know you wouldn't want that post coming up on a website because some government employee is watching you do your little Ghostbuster Stay Puft Marshmallow impersonation.
Well, yeah.
Is your sound cutting out?
No, my sound is not cutting out. I'm looking at mic adjustments as we go, so I apologize.
Who's Mike?
He's
and why are you adjusting him?
He's the guy.
This is not that kind of show. This is a political conservative talk.
He's the guy that moves the furniture.
Okay.
Listen, it's not.
Don't adjust him like that.
Oh my Lord!
It's been a long one.
This has been. Oh wow, this is bad. So well.
Don't say it.
Just keep moving. I'm just gonna keep moving along.
Change it.
So let me ask you this.
What?
We're gonna move into, because we have a short amount of time left in the show.
Okay.
We're gonna move into the GOP Republicans Senate meeting with Susan Rice. And we're going to get serious here for the last 24 minutes or whatever. They came out, and it was the three that came out and spoke really were McCain, Ayotte, and Senator Graham.
Lieberman was in there too, though.
And,
I believe, right?
And Lieberman, yes, you're right. And they came out, they met with her about what she said about her talking points, about how that went. We all know that Petraeus put out a set of talking points, essentially said that the Gaza attack was terrorism right off the bat. Between then and the time she started to go on, which I don't even know why the ambassador of the UN was the one pushing this narrative instead of, I don't know, the Secretary of State or somebody who, but I'm going to say the Secretary of State, who did push the same narrative but very quietly for some strange reason. That's weird. It was changed. It was the head of the Intelligence Committee turned around and said, yeah, why don't we take that whole thing about Al-Qaeda and terrorism out and just say that there's this video that was produced and put online 6 months earlier, and now everyone's all upset at the same time. Then Susan Rice came out and pushed that narrative on 5 different talk shows. So it came out eventually that, hey, Petraeus actually said when he put out his talking points memo, it was terrorism that was changed.
Right.
So
somebody changed it.
Somebody changed it. Excuse me. So they had a meeting with her, and essentially what came out of the meeting is now we have more questions than we have answers.
Yeah,
and this is a two-pronged conversation. First prong is going to be, and we're going to listen to the clip from the 3 senators here in a second, is what more questions are there? Why didn't she, if you have more questions, why weren't they answered?
Because, look, I think, this is probably, we'll listen to the clip. I think she was given direction by the White House. I think she followed that direction. I don't think it's unreasonable to think, hey, you stick with this, and we'll take care of you down the line. Maybe
right.
when Hillary Clinton leaves.
Right, Secretary of State.
That makes total sense to me. She's sticking with this narrative. She wants to be taken care of. The White House says they're going to take care of her. Makes total sense to me. And I think that's why there's going to be. She's not going to answer those questions. I think you need to look. I think the president needs to speak to Congress on this. I really do.
I agree with you. Well, let's listen to the clips, and we'll come back and go from there.
Senator Graham and I and Senator Ayotte had a very candid discussion with Ambassador Rice and Deputy Director of the CIA. We are significantly troubled by many of the answers that we got and some that we didn't get. Bottom line, I'm more disturbed now than I was before that the 16 September explanation about how 4 Americans died in Benghazi, Libya by Ambassador Rice, I think does not do justice to the reality at the time, and in hindsight clearly was completely wrong. But here's the key. In real time, it was a statement disconnected from reality. If anybody had been looking at the threats coming out of Benghazi, Libya, it would jump out at you. This was a Al-Qaeda storm in the making. I'm very disappointed in our intelligence community. I think they failed in many ways. But with a little bit of inquiry and curiosity, I think it would be pretty clear that to explain this episode as related to a video that created a mob that turned into a riot was far afield. And at the end of the day, we're going to get to the bottom of this. We have to have a system we can trust. And if you don't know what happened, just say you don't know what happened.
And what troubles me also is that, obviously the changes made to the unclassified talking points were misleading. But just to be clear, when you have a position where you're ambassador to the United Nations, you go well beyond unclassified talking points in your daily preparation and responsibilities for that job.
Yeah, unfortunately, the sound clip that we were given was not good, so I apologize for that.
You know what? Hey, Sacco, did you screw with our sound as the technical guy since we were talking about you?
Sean?
That's a yes. That's a yes. Notice the
How is it on the co-host? And as soon as it was a sound question, he tried to throw it on to me.
Yeah.
Well, wait a minute. No.
Listen, guys. Okay.
Hang on. Listen up, ladies and gentlemen.
And I look at the desktop, and you're on the wrong partition.
It's not my fault.
Minimize that.
No.
You.
Listen, I think there's somebody calling on the phone.
Ring.
Wow. I guess I'm to blame for that. Anyhow, so to get back to Susan Rice, they essentially came out and they said, like we said before the break, they had more questions, and whether or not she was lying. If she knew the truth, why didn't she just say it?
Because I think she's protecting the White House.
Right.
And she's not going to say that. I think the White House should come out and speak on this. And here, look, this would not be a huge deal. It really would not get this much media attention. It wouldn't be this big of a deal if the White House or somebody came out and said, hey, this is what happened. Talking points were changed by me or by my staff or by whoever because we didn't want to upplay terrorism and cause a panic or cause a stink or whatever the case is. Yeah, we did it. We changed the talking points. In hindsight, yeah, maybe we shouldn't have done it. Our bad. We just won re-election. Now in 3.5 years, nobody's going to remember this anyways, and it goes away.
Right.
But they're not answering the questions. They're sticking to the same story. They're being stubborn, and so it's keeping this story not only in play, but it's making it look like there's something going on.
Well, and if they're setting her up for Secretary of State, and that's really what they're pushing for, you're saying that she's either A, incompetent,
she's a yes person,
or B, she's such a yes person that when it comes time to make a decision that's right for the country as Secretary of State, she's just going to defer to the president. So what's the point of even having the Secretary of State?
You know what, and I have to say this, but Hillary Clinton has not been a horrible Secretary of State.
No.
She hasn't at all, and I'm really curious. Have you heard a reason why she's not going to be there second term?
No, other than the fact that she's probably going to run for the next president.
But she hasn't said that. Has she given a reason why she's leaving the administration?
She hasn't. And it's funny. I want to clarify one thing real quick. You said it wouldn't be. It's not a big deal. And I immediately looked at the chat room. When you say it's not a big deal, we're talking specifically about the talking points being changed.
Yeah.
Benghazi is a huge...
And if anybody thought that I was saying Benghazi wouldn't be a big deal, is freaking ignorant. But no, we lost 4 Americans,
right.
Okay? We lost 4 brave Americans, including an American ambassador. I don't care whose party that ambassador belonged to. We lost some brave men in uniform. Look, it was a horrible tragedy. What I'm talking about, the big deal, is this post-story.
Right.
This event where the Obama administration is basically stonewalling inquiries into what's going on. I'm saying that portion of it, it wouldn't be a big deal the talking points were changed. I mean, maybe it would be a deal, but it wouldn't be this huge event where the media can feed on if they come out and give an answer.
If the media would actually feed on it, that'd
be
amazing.
Okay,
now,
but we're talking about it still.
Right.
Other people are talking about it still. Fox News is talking about it still. But did somebody actually sit there and think that I was talking about the people getting killed wasn't a big deal?
Perhaps.
You're a fucking idiot, in my opinion.
I just wanted to clarify it because I know that's not your actual I know what you were saying, but we've talked.
No, that angers me that somebody would even think that.
But I understand what you're saying. My problem is we get into, if they come out on like day 2 and been like, hey, you know what? These talking points are actually not the ones. They could have easily said it was lost in translation. Day 2, day 3, like, you know, after the first time that she was on, they could have come out and said, hey, we made a mistake. This wasn't supposed to go out. It was one of the drafts that somebody, you know, some low-level beatnik put up, and they didn't. And now it's a big deal because of the cover-up that's being involved in it. Now, here is my problem. People are questioning either the president, which we've learned, if you're on the right side of the media and you question the president, as Chris Matthews taught us, you're either a racist, or you're just a rich white guy that has absolutely nothing else to do but sit there and attack this administration.
Basically, you're not allowed to criticize this administration.
And now this is parlayed immediately.
Would you agree?
Yes. No,
you're not allowed to criticize this administration?
Right.
Remember that Voltaire quote we bought out last week?
Right.
Hey, to learn who rules over you, simply find out who you're not allowed to criticize.
And now people that are questioning Susan Rice, and when they're questioning her, I'm assuming the base of questioning are, what did you know? When did you know it? When did the narrative change? Kind of probably what they did to Petraeus. And people are saying, well, if you're questioning her, and the Republicans are now coming out saying, hey, if you're going to nominate her for Secretary of State, and she willingly lied, then we don't want her as Secretary of State. If she knew she was lying and she did it to push a government
a political agenda,
right, and to cover up the deaths of 4 people, then we don't want her as Secretary of State because she cannot be trusted. Well, out comes the left, stormtroopering as they do. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You're doing this because she's a woman. Oh, here comes the war on women. This is the campaign all over again. You're doing this because she's a woman. No, we're doing this because she's she's the Secretary of the UN, possibly the Secretary of State. She's either incompetent, a liar, or just, I don't know. And then, well, you're also doing this because she's black. Well, no.
Wait, wasn't Condoleezza Rice black?
Yeah.
And Colin Powell was pretty high up in the Bush administration, I think.
Right.
Was he black?
Yeah. I think he was.
He couldn't have been. Otherwise, a Republican wouldn't have put him in there, right?
Come on. And they're changing the story again. Mainstream media, especially in the administration, is allowing it to happen, including all the Democrats and progressive liberals that are in the Republican Senate. The Congress, are now changing this narrative back from when it was, which 4 people died in Benghazi. The government, for whatever reason, be it intentional or unintentional, came out and blamed it on something that they knew damn well didn't happen. So instead of that being the focus, which it should be, they went around and said, no, this has nothing to do with that. It has to do with the fact that Fox, any right-leaning media, independents, anyone that questions in Congress is this racist bigot and a sexist. It's the smokescreen. It's the same smokescreen that we've seen for years, and we keep swallowing it. And when's somebody going to stand up and say, no, damn it, enough's enough? Look, I challenge one Democrat in this administration, either in Congress, the administration, somewhere, to turn around and go, hey, you know what? Even after they had this meeting and the talking points clarification came on, she just essentially, followed orders. That was the talking point she was given. It was her job. No, I want someone to go out there and go, yeah, there is a question. There is a reason. Something's not right. Looks like shit, smells like shit. Guess what? It's probably shit. So don't eat it.
Don't eat it. That was a pretty good one.
Thank you.
I like that. I'd like to see. I would also like to see, and I honestly think that would give the Democrats a little more. Some credibility when it comes time for re-election. Hey, look at nonpartisan. We had a serious issue affecting our country. We had 4 Americans who were dead. The fact that this happened is a big deal. The fact that this happened is a big deal, and we need to investigate this and find out what's going on. and get these questions answered. Look, and here's another reason why I think that I need that, by the way. There's another reason that I think that the Obama administration assisted in changing the talking points, and that is this: this administration has had a difficult time, to say the least, when it comes to calling anything terrorism. Look what they've done with, that smells so good. And what's awesome is those shot glasses have little mustaches on them.
Yeah, well, that's perfect for us.
These, they downplay anything that has to do with terrorism. They called the Fort Hood shooting workplace violence. Yeah, workplace violence. Man-caused disasters. Yes. As these things. And there's Texas Representative Michael McCall. He's the incoming chairman of the House Committee on Homeland Security. Yes. He's kind of calling him out on this. Mm-hmm. He's going to have a sit down with Janet Napolitano and discuss.
Who's also leaving too, and that's weird.
That's she is?
I believe she is. Yay! Hey, you know what? I'm going to do this shot, and I'm going to do a shot too.
Sacco, get in here. I need a shot. I can't believe somebody actually thought it was a big deal.
I think we should do this at the end of every show. I think we should have a little drink.
One shot every show?
One shot a show.
One shot and then one shot.
This is our celebratory shot that all the people...
You're not celibate.
These people are leaving this administration.
What do you mean, these people? Why? See, there you go. Why do you always have to be such a racist bigot?
I give up.
This is what gives us this... Okay, what are we gonna salute
to? Celebrating Napolitano leaving.
But okay, that's yours.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do this, and this is we're gonna lose all of our listeners with this.
Oh, here we go.
Obama is the president of the United States.
Affirm.
As such, he is my president.
Yes.
I'm going to drink to his health.
Oh, well, I can do that.
All right. How many people just stopped listening?
Everybody. So, but at the end of the day, let's keep this on point. That was really good stuff.
That was really good stuff.
Let's keep this on point.
Did you even tell people what we were just drinking a shot of?
Oh, we just did a shot of bourbon.
What kind?
Honestly, I don't know. I didn't look.
Let's read it. Let's
keep it on point. Which we do a terrible job at, apparently, as we did a shot midway through. We need to stay at the topic at hand. We need to find out what happened to Benghazi, who knew what when, how did the attack go down. We all knew they asked for more help and didn't get it.
You're still talking about Benghazi?
Yes.
I'm still on that whiskey.
And then we need to know who in the administration lied. And until those questions are answered, this story cannot go away. And it can't be changed into a sexist argument. It can't be changed into a racial argument. It is what it is. Somebody in that administration changed it intentionally. It was a lie, and it needs to be dealt with as a lie. And let me bring up one last topic.
What?
I just beg you to look at it this way. If there was a Republican in office right now,
yes,
and this happened,
yes,
can you imagine how the mainstream media, the liberals, the left would be all over this like flies on dog shit. And it would be the biggest deal. It would be all the time, 24/7 on NBC, CNBC, blah, blah. Every single time Brian Williams with his perfectly done hair got on TV, more lies from the Republican White House. It would just, that was my Brian Williams impression.
I liked it.
It would just never end.
But here's the thing. You know where else it would be?
Where?
It would be on Sackheads Radio.
Yeah, because I wouldn't deal with it then either.
Exactly.
And that's the difference.
Exactly. But that's the difference between reporting. Look, we have an opinion.
Right.
But I think we're fair in our opinions. So that's our commentary. But again, I think it came from this administration because they downplay terrorism all the time. It's been the MO of this administration.
Well, and you look at things they say that weren't terrorism. The guy with the underwear bomb on Christmas. Well, it wasn't terrorism because it didn't happen. Only because it didn't ignite it.
You just said Christmas.
Yeah.
Now, Christmas season is coming.
I segued into this perfectly because I knew you wanted to in the last few minutes.
Look, we're getting into the Christmas season. We're already starting to see some attacks from the liberal left about, oh, we can't have Christmas. You can't call it Christmas. It's a holiday party. You can't have a nativity scene on freaking whatever. And I've already seen a few stories drives me nuts.
Rhode Island.
So, I have a question.
I have an answer.
Do liberals celebrate Christmas?
Well, yeah, in the privacy
Why?
of their own home.
Why do they celebrate
Well, they
Christmas?
get free gifts.
Oh, can't celebrate Christmas. Because if you're an atheist, okay, do atheists celebrate Christmas? Do
No.
they give gifts?
No.
So they don't give gifts.
Right.
Atheists don't give gifts at all.
Not for religious holidays.
But they still celebrate Christmas.
Yeah. Not all of them. I actually know a few atheists that don't.
They do Festivus or what?
Festivus and the rest of it?
Yeah.
I personally know a few atheists that don't.
Do you
However,
think,
the atheists I do know think it's completely fine if I celebrate Christmas, if I have their whole thing on atheism is I don't believe in a religion, but I don't surround myself with people that push their narrative.
I know people that are atheists that don't believe in God that still celebrate Christmas.
Well, yeah. Because it's almost like St. Patrick's Day. You don't have to be Christian to celebrate it, in their opinion.
But what is Christmas?
It's the birthday of Jesus.
Right. And it is a federal holiday.
Yes, it is.
So
we're federally mandated to celebrate Christmas.
Look, now, how would you be opposed to having Christmas not be a federal holiday anymore?
As long as I was allowed to celebrate it, I'd be all right with that.
To have it off?
Yeah.
What if, no, it's not a federal holiday. You can't have it off. You still have to work.
Well, then I would call and say. But just like, listen.
I have a problem.
I
have a problem with people.
The Jewish religion.
Go ahead.
There are holidays, high holy holidays in the Jewish religion that aren't necessarily federal holidays people get off.
Correct.
Most employers understand.
Israel, they do.
Yes, in Israel. I'm talking.
Oh, okay.
Here.
Yeah, we're not Israel.
Right. Most employers do understand that if you're of the Jewish faith and your high holidays, and you do get that paid, even though it's not a federal holiday, because most employers are very tolerant of religions. And I use that as an example. They do it for other reasons. I know business owners that absolutely like, hey, I'm a religious person. I respect your religion. You can have that time.
You're getting off topic.
Go ahead.
If you're an atheist and you're trying to do away with Christmas or the use of the term Christmas,
then you shouldn't be able to
celebrate it. You shouldn't be able to celebrate it. You're a freaking hypocrite if you do.
No, absolutely
in my opinion.
hypocrite. And I think it's disgusting. Listen, we don't.
That's my only point.
No, I understand.
No
other religion, and right where we're different, no other religion for some reason gets attacked in this country.
Of course not.
You never see, and I'm sure it's happened, but you don't regularly see people protesting a menorah or the Star of David or, a lot of other religions in which celebrate holidays.
On the California Capitol steps, they used to set up, and I think they still do it, a menorah.
Yeah.
Every year.
Yeah.
On the west steps of the California State Capitol. What do you think would happen if you tried to set a big crucifix up right there?
Or even more, a nativity scene.
Or a nativity scene.
Because that's the weird thing. People are great for the holiday trees. Hey, holiday trees, all right. Hey, lights, I want to put lights in my house. You put up a nativity scene, and people absolutely lose it.
They lose their mind.
We're supposed to have religious freedom in this country, and the same reason why I think that people can be atheists if they choose to be.
They can be.
Absolutely no reason.
And you
why.
can be an atheist and celebrate Christmas as long as you're okay with people saying Merry. But if you try to do away with Christmas, then I don't think you should be. I think it should be illegal for you to celebrate it.
Well,
I'm kidding. It shouldn't be illegal for you. You still do what you want. But I think you're a hypocrite.
Yeah, I think you're a terrible hypocrite, and you shouldn't be able to. You shouldn't be able to kind of ride the coattails to get free stuff.
And that's another thing. Why is it still a menorah? Why is it not a holiday candle? You know what? From now on, I am calling it a holiday candelabra because I don't want to offend anybody.
You know what? I want to offend people, and I'm going to call it a menorah because I have many friends of the Jewish religion I would never insult.
Why are you so insensitive?
And I would never insult.
Why are you so insensitive? But by calling it a menorah, you're excluding so many people by calling it. You're such a hateful little man. You are such a hateful, angry little Bostonian man.
You're right. I am.
First you want to do away with those people, and now you want to just exclude everybody.
I want to exclude everyone that's not part of the Jewish faith and doesn't respect it. Just like I want to exclude everyone that's not part of.
I'm demonstrating a completely ridiculous position by being completely ridiculous myself.
I know you are.
It's a menorah. It's a Christmas tree. That's my whole point. I just wanted to bitch about that.
Well, it's like
for the last
else.
couple minutes.
For them to have as much.
Hey, this is Clint from Sackheads Radio. Thanks for listening. We'll be back.
I hate you. Well, you know what? I am going to end the show. The hell with you. The hell with Sacco, who's laughing at me. We'll see you next Friday night.
We'll see you next Friday night. Thanks for listening.
Go to sackheadsradio.com, Twitter at Sackheads, Facebook.com/SackheadsRadio. Thanks to Andrea-Gate for joining us this evening. We will see you next Friday, 10:30 Pacific Time, 01:30 a.m. on Saturday.
It doesn't matter.
Eastern Time.
What about Hawaii time?
Hawaii time, I think it's 7:30.
2 hours prior.
So 8:30?
8:30 Hawaii time.
Either way, we'll see you next week. And
aloha.
Free awesomeness. Can't go wrong with it.